Hey, Knockyard here. Bad cold, but I made a commitment to do this, and I'm gonna do it. Uh, Hammerfall Grifball Court Contest. This is Anubis's Tube by KickinAss Emos. KickinAss Emos is the one that made Scorched Guardians. That is currently in the playlist. Just a bit of a disclaimer first. I did kind of help him out on this court before we knew about the contest, and actually all I did was I explained to him about the zero emissive, black zero emissive being dark, and my suggestion to make this a darker court than it was. It was already dark, but this is to make it black. So other than that, everything is 100% his. I have been through it to look for frame rate, and I mean every time I went into it, I had bad frame rate. So we're gonna have a look at it today to make sure it's cool and make sure it's the frame rate is good, and make sure everything else is good. So anyhow, let's have. Wow, this is way different than when I was looking at it before. He's really changed it up. It's completely different than what I last saw. So that's a. Oh, hey, that's an interesting launch too. Yeah, it looks like he's gotten rid of had horrible frame rate. Frame rate. I have to say those words correctly. And he's definitely got that under control. He's simplified it quite a bit. Some cool hieroglyphs. Yeah, okay. So it looks way different than the map I helped him with, that's for sure. So that's good to know that, you know, any of the ideas I had, he made the dark background, but everything else is all him. So, yeah, good job on getting the frame rate down. So, and simplifying things. So, yeah, see, there used to be the Guardian or whatever, I'm not even sure how he described it. Anyhow, there used to be 3 of them on each side and a whole bunch of other unnecessary decorative bits, and he scaled it back and simplified it. So there we go. That's a good frame rate. That was the most important thing. Not the most important thing, but that's what I was looking for, was a frame rate. It appears he's enclosed all the wall hops. Oh, right. Ceiling. I always start with the ceiling. Ceiling's good. There's no perches. There are no ledges. Ledges of perch. I'm pretty sure that's the launch platform. Wait, where is the launch platform? I saw. Oh, right. No, they're right there. So, oh, I see. He's got a. Oh, right. That's right. Right. Sorry. The man cannons put you over top of this wall. Right. I was wondering why that was up so high, but then I just recalled, yes, a few seconds ago, I was launched over the top of that. So that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. He's got the same floor on here as this is the same floor that he used on Scorched Guardians. One thing I'm going to recommend is to ungroup it and play a custom game on it and make sure there's no bumps on it, but definitely ungroup the floor. And this is pretty smooth in forge mode, but you have to make sure these bumps, these do not bumps, because these are grids. You can kind of see the grid lines on them. It's not invisible blockers. So make sure that there's in custom games that there's no bumps whatsoever on these seams, and it's obvious to see where they go. They go from right behind the goal to the sidewall here. So just make sure there's no bumps, and try running and sliding across these in both directions to see if they kick you out of a slide or not. Well, you slide a lot further in Grifball, but just make sure they don't kick you out of a slide. Make sure there's no bumps in that whatsoever. So that's something to look for in a custom game. The clamber ledge, there's a bit of overlap here. I'm not sure if that's a problem, but definitely test it in game mode, because as we've said in every video that has a clamber ledge, overlapping can cause your clamber to fail. Now it seems to be good. but test in a custom and test it like, oh, see, it failed right there. See, so the clamber ledge does fail. So that's an easy fix to ungroup it. Well, ungroup, yeah, you should pretty well ungroup everything because big groups tend to shift, or they can shift, they can potentially shift. So you should not really have any of your structure grouped, okay? Just ungroup everything. There's absolutely no need to have it grouped. Once you place something in Forge, ungroup it because a grouped item can shift with repeated saves. And I've proven this before by I put two objects on opposite side of the map and I just repeatedly saved it, and then another time repeatedly grouped and ungrouped and grouped and ungrouped, and the thing would just walk across the map. So things lose their precision in groups. So it's best that once you place something, unlock it and just leave it. Okay, so anyhow, the real simple fix to this, as I showed everyone else in every other map they've made, is just to take your invisible blocker, make sure your movement is set to world, and you can tell it's world because you get the gimbals, you get those, so that's correct. And then you just want to slide this over, turn off your magnets, and just slide this over until just magnetize the corners and leave it. See? Just like so. Okay? It's hard to get a look. See? They aren't overlapped now. So that should be okay. I'll just try it a few times just to see if it's still a problem. And just in my limited experience here, in the exact same place as before, it seems to work every time now. So that's just a very minor thing, but do that for all four of them. Just turn on your magnets, put them corner to corner, save it, just like that. Really simple. There you go. Very, very simple. And also make sure that no objects are sticking out of these at this level here. See how if I look through here, you can see a nice gap in there. That just indicates that there's plenty of space between the object underneath and the invisible blocker. So that means there's less chance of the overlap causing a clamber to fail. And I think that's about it. And I'm just going to check here. And just see what I do is I just drop one of these down. I just set one of them to normal physics to see if it goes up or down. And see it goes up. So you have to do that with all of them, okay? So just, I'll let that one go. Just select them all. They're all phased. Wait, select all of. Make sure they're phased. And move them up. In this case, you want to move it up. Movement should be set to object, okay? And just go to your object properties, your position, and just move your Z vertical up. Okay? And do the same with this. And this. Okay. Actually, sorry. These have to go way up, sorry. They should be above them, like they should be hovering way above them, okay? And once they're up in the air, they're like 0.2 units up high. You just select them all. Select all of, there should be 12. Set them to normal physics. Let them drop down onto the floor. Select all of. Set them to phased physics. There we go. Now they're all set to phased, and they're all sitting on top of the floor rather than embedded in the floor. And with these, as usual, just turn your magnets on and snap them back down to the other one. Now these don't have to be snapped there. You can put them in between or whatever. These are just the join and progress spawns that may or may not be used depending on how you work your back area. We might be changing we might be changing a few things in Grifball, but when we do, they'll all be prefabs that you can drop down. And one of the prefabs that we have is the original idea that we used to block the starting spawns, so that if joining players spawn on the field rather than back there. I'm not sure if that's an issue anymore, but we're gonna make it so that it would work in either or, if they spawn back in there or spawn here. But it's still good to have the emergency spawn here, even though it's probably not going to be used. It's still good to have it just in case. As I say, some of the older courts and some other upcoming courts might be blocking off that spawn room after the game gets started. So it's always good to keep the join in progress spawn on the field, whether it's needed or not. Anyhow, I think that's it for Anubis's tomb. Is it tomb? Yes, Anubis's tomb. I think that's it. So just made those minor changes, just the spawns and the wall hop, and yeah, I don't recall if I mentioned anything else, but everything else looks good. Frame rate looks good. So get those. Let me just check corner to corner frame rate. I saw a little bit there, but typically okay. Yeah, okay. Corner to corner. I should have checked this earlier. There is just a touch of frame rate looking corner to corner. So once again, you're going to have to do, like I said before, you're going to have to find a way to simplify. And I usually make suggestions, but what I would do first is like take a copy of it. Don't do your testing on your actual submission, but do a frame rate copy. Just make a copy of the map, and then what I do is I do wholesale deleting of objects to see which objects are causing the frame rate. Now I'm suspecting that, well, you see, the thing is that I looked at the Guardian or whatever earlier, and it did not have frame rate, okay? But the corner does. Let's see when the frame rate kicks in. Right about here. Yeah, it seems to be when I have the Guardian and the sidewall both in the frame at the same time. So between there and there is just a little bit too much. So here's what I usually do when I'm getting frame rate down. Make a copy of the map, leave and just load up that copy, and then just start deleting things wholesale. Just and don't save it. Just go into Forge mode, delete a bunch of stuff, and see what is causing the frame rate. And that doesn't mean you have to leave it deleted. You just have to figure it out from there. Because a lot of times you'll think, oh, this guy up here must be causing the frame rate. I'm going to go change him up. And then you find out, oh, it's the decals that are actually changing the frame rate, or a combination of the two. So always try to figure out what it is first by eliminating an entire block or section to see if that is what's causing the frame rate, or if it's a cause of because this really looks like it shouldn't be causing frame rate. But then again, I don't know exactly how every little thing was built. Some of your structures like that may be too many pieces. It could be the choice of pieces. These are the Forerunner pylon pieces. It could be your FX, and I suspect it could also, I doubt, well, I don't know if it's, I'm not really sure if decals have frame rate issues, but you could just go in on your experimental build and just delete all the decals and see if that fixes your frame rate. And if that's the case, just figure out a way to simplify that, or move it to a place where it doesn't affect other parts of it. So that's all I've got for you here. So get that frame rate down. It's just that not as bad as it used to be. But get that frame rate down, and make sure that's cleaned up so that when you're standing in this corner, and to do a sweep, you walk like from that point, sweep across to that point, and then move so that your feet and hands are moving at the same time. And that's how I check for frame rate on a Grifball court, is you're seeing the most of the court that you can possibly see at any one time. And this is a spot that people they get into a corner and they'll pass. So we want to make sure that they've got good frame rate out of this area here so they don't miss their passes. Okay, so get that taken care of, and edit your map posts once you've figured out your frame rate issues. Oh, this piece here is notorious for frame rate. Okay, just so you know, as lovely a piece as it is, I would first go in and just delete all of these from the map and see if that fixes your frame rate. If it doesn't, put it back, or end the build and reload it again and try something else. But that's the very first thing I would check. As pretty as these pieces are, and as cool as they are to have in your map, almost every map I've seen that has them has frame rate, including one of mine. So I'm going to go before my voice fails. So I got